Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Using EatFresh.org for Group Cooking and Recipe Demonstrations webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Anna, and I'm the Registered Dietitian at Leah's Pantry. I'm joined by Monica, the Program Manager at Leah's Pantry. And this is just a re-recording of our live webinar because our recording equipment was not working properly during the live event. So today we'll be talking about easy ways to utilize EatFresh.org when cooking for larger groups of up to 30 people or possibly more. EatFresh.org can make preparing food for your workshop or recipe demonstration much easier and more enjoyable. So today we'll be covering or providing an introduction to the main features of EatFresh.org, practices on cooking for large groups using EatFresh.org, specifically on selecting recipes and scaling up, tips for successful cooking in a hands-on workshop or recipe demonstration, and then we'll wrap up with a few questions that came up during our live webinar. So before we begin, Monica is going to quickly introduce Leah's Pantry.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar with everything we do at Leah's Pantry, I want to quickly provide some background on our organization. So Leah's Pantry was founded in San Francisco in 2006, which means we are approaching our 12th anniversary this fall. Our mission is to promote healthier lives among vulnerable populations through innovative community-based nutrition and cooking programs. To put it simply, we believe that everyone deserves nourishing meals every day. We accomplish our mission through 3 strategies. First, we work directly with low-income individuals to support sustained healthy behavior change related to food choices, cooking, and shopping through innovative programs that address client barriers. Second, we work with organizations that serve low-income individuals to build their capacity to integrate effective nutrition support. So check out our website for more information on upcoming trainings near you. This webinar is an example of this kind of work. Third, we ensure that the right tools exist to make these programs effective. We develop cutting-edge online nutrition education tools, community-driven recipes and cookbooks, and innovative curriculum to use both within our own programs and also to share with others. Now, Anna is going to give a quick overview of EatFresh.org.
Great, thank you, Monica. Okay, so for those of you who are new to EatFresh.org, this will be a great overview of how you can interact with the site for your organization and clients. If you're an active user already, thank you so much, and we hope you will learn a few new things as well. So since 2013, EatFresh.org has been serving the California SNAP Ed and CalFresh community. This site started out as a project with the San Francisco Human Services Agency CalFresh program. Thanks to the participation of over 300 partners like you, EatFresh.org has over 15,000 visitors a month, with thousands of recipes shared via email, text, or social media. We see a lot of evidence that EatFresh.org is a part of healthy conversations across California. So now we're going to move and share our screen to take a look at the website. So give us a few seconds to shift gears. Website. Okay. All right. So EatFresh.org is a multilingual, mobile-friendly recipe chronic disease prevention website. The site is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. If you're viewing the site from a desktop, you can find the right-hand corner. The feature comes in handy when you're presenting or working with clients that speak other languages. The majority of the website is translated into all 3 languages, so you can provide recipes and handouts in the appropriate language. From the home page, users CalFresh, WIC, or school lunches. They can even take our free EatFresh.org mini course, which I will get into later. They can find information on local farmers markets. Scroll down. And resources for providers, and also videos about the site. We encourage you to share the how to use EatFresh.org video with your coworkers and clients to get them acquainted with the site, or check it out yourself if you haven't already. You can also sign up for our weekly email tips on the homepage. So here is an example of a weekly health tip we sent earlier in the month. We pull content from our lifestyle pages and feature a recipe with it. This can be great to share during a conversation with the client or with your coworkers during a staff meeting. All right, let's return back to the website. So recipes are by far the most popular feature on EatFresh.org, accounting for about 70% of our total traffic. Take a second to load. There are over 400 recipes on this website that are easy to make, tasty, healthy, and affordable on a CalFresh budget. We have added a large number of new recipes over the past few years, and these recipes reflect the incredible diversity of our California residents. Use the filters to find recipes from different cuisines, such as African. So if you click on cuisine, there we go. Sorry, we didn't have a. There we go. Okay. So if you click on cuisine, you can see that there's different options. There's African, Middle Eastern, Native American, or Pacific Rim communities. One of our favorite new groups of recipes were created with Tongan and Samoan community cooks that we met through our partner, the Ecumenical Hunger Program in Palo Alto. You can use the filters on the left to find those recipes, or you can also use the search function to find what you're looking for. So, for example, if I was looking for a recipe to use for a large group of kids, I can search for kids. Let's see what comes up. And you can see we have 143 recipes come up. Only 12 are visible, so to access more, all you have to do is just scroll down and you'll see additional pages. For some of you, this might be a good place to start when you're looking for the right recipe for your workshop or demo. All recipe ingredients feature hover tips to suggest possible substitutions. This is useful when you need to modify a recipe based on a group's preference or what is actually available. So for example, we're looking at our spring spread recipe, and the recipe calls for chives, which might be readily available. Instead of giving up on the recipe, you can check the hover tips and consider the options such as cilantro or Italian parsley. All recipe ingredients are also linked to Discover Food pages. If you click on the ingredient, you'll be linked to the relevant page. So for example, if you clicked on the ingredient chives, you'll be directed to the pages for herbs. Each Discover Food page gives an overview of the food or food group. You'll find photos, a basic description, tips on how to buy it, store it, to make the food last longer, tips on how to prepare it, and why it's great. These pages are a great reference in a recipe demonstration to highlight a particular ingredient, to talk about seasonal produce, or to even help you shop for the ingredients you need for the workshop. You can use the toolbar on the top right to print these pages and use them as handouts or share them via email or social media. Most of the Discover Food pages feature a recipe that uses the food or food group. So here we see mild salsa. So let's take a look at what is in mild salsa. So if you look down at the ingredients, mild salsa calls for the herb cilantro. Each recipe page also has a toolbar on the top right that allows you to email, share, or print hard copies, which are helpful to have on hand for not only you, but also your clients during a workshop or a recipe demonstration. You can also adjust the yield of the recipes to change how much food is made. This is a great feature for cooking for a large group. You can use the double feature or the addition button as many times as you want to serve the number of people you want. With serving a large group, questions around food and nutrition may come up, which brings me to another feature I want to point out is Ask a Dietitian. So this feature allows users to ask nutrition-related questions that I will answer. You can also view commonly asked questions by topic, such as cooking or picky eaters. This can be a great resource to point your participants to if they have more questions about how to cook or eat healthier during your workshop or recipe demo. Unfortunately, I can only respond to questions in English at this time, and the content of my responses is only for information and educational purposes only. So it's not meant to be a substitute for any personal or medical advice. Users are always urged to consult with their primary doctor for any health conditions or concerns. All right, now let's talk about lifestyle pages. All right, so our lifestyle tips provide actionable ideas on how to overcome common barriers. For example, let's take a look at this tip on how can I prevent bone loss as I get older. So similar to our other pages, these pages can also be emailed, easily printed, and shared using the toolbar on the top right. You are also able to look through lifestyle pages by topic. This can be helpful if you are working with a particular group that have specific barriers. For example, if you're running a hands-on cooking workshop for participants with little to no cooking experience, you can click on cooking and incorporate these pages into your workshop or demo. For example, if you wanted to, let's say, demonstrate a recipe using onions, consider this tip on learning the right technique for chopping onions. For this tip, we list some pointers on knife safety and creating a flat surface when cutting. If you scroll down, you can also find a short video related to the lifestyle tip that you can share with participants. Here we have a video on how to chop an onion without the tears or mess. All right, last feature I want to point out is my resources, which will take you to a page of resources in your county. If your computer or smartphone is unable to detect your location, you can click on counties, and you will see a list of counties where you can select the county you'd like to view. So right now we're recording from San Francisco, but if you're not in San Francisco, you can click on counties and select wherever you are. So let's take Alameda, for example. These pages list farmers market, tea, WIC, and including those that participate in Market Match, which goes by several names in California, but Market Match is an incentive program where CalFresh clients receive extra money to buy produce at farmers markets. Details vary, but EatFresh.org will at least be able to help you or your clients find new markets that participate. You can even shop for your workshop at a nearby farmers market to highlight what is available local and seasonally. Many of your clients may already shop at their neighborhood farmers market. You can also point out markets in surrounding areas, including accept SNAP and participate in Market Match. We also list county offices and local food bank information. So please let us know if you have updates or content you'd like to add to your county page. You can send us comments directly on the website by clicking on the feedback tab, which is on the lower right of our page. Go over here and click on feedback. and type in your message. All right, now we are going to okay. So another resource I want to point out is our EatFresh.org mini course, which I pointed out earlier when we were on the homepage. The EatFresh.org mini course was inspired by feedback from our low-income audience and staff of partner organizations in a 2014 evaluation. We found that 71% of SNAP-eligible EatFresh.orgers had never attended an in-person nutrition workshop. This indicated an unmet need in the California SNAP Ed program, so we built and launched the mini course in 2016. The mini course is available in English and Spanish and is mobile friendly. However, we're currently updating it to make it perform better on mobile devices. There are 15 topics total, and each lesson takes roughly 5 to 10 minutes. Topics go into nutrition basics, creating wholesome meals, and planning and shopping. While the mini course was designed for SNAP eligible users, we're finding that it has been a really helpful resource for just about anyone, including agency staff and volunteers, which we discussed in the last webinar. You can access the recording of all our past webinars from our leahspantry.org website under Webinars in our Resources tab. Another tool we created was the EatFresh.org mini course for educators. The EatFresh.org mini course for educators was created in late 2016 to support educators and facilitators like yourself. Like the mini course, it's available in English and Spanish and is also mobile friendly. There are 5 topics total that focus on leading efficient and effective classes using SNAP Ed messaging, adult learning theories, and facilitation best practices. The topics also incorporate ideas on how to utilize specific resources from our Food Smarts curriculum and EatFresh.org to complement your program. To access the mini course for educators, use the referral code TEACH when creating your account. If you're using the mini course for your clients, they don't need a referral code. But if you'd like to track their activity, we can create a referral code specific to your organization for them to use.
Okay, now we will move into how to use EatFresh.org to choose the right recipe from among the hundreds in the site for your activity. Let's go back to EatFresh.org. And we're going to share our screen again so that we can take a closer look at the site's features.
Homepage?
Yes. Okay, so that's working. If your workshop or demo has time constraints and limited facilities for cooking, the first place you might want to look on EatFresh is under the cooking environment filter on the recipe page. So here we have very quick recipes that can be prepared in under 30 minutes, as well as limited kitchen recipes. So if clients don't have access to a full kitchen or a full kitchen to conduct a demo or workshop in, you can look there. Many EatFresh.org recipes also offer options to cook with different types of equipment. So for example, one of our recipes is our whole wheat corn cake recipe, which has step-by-step instructions for using a skillet, the traditional way, and also rice cooker instructions down below, right there, so that you can make it without an access to the stove. So many of our recipes can be searched if you look under rice cooker and have a way to cook without a stove. So don't let not having a kitchen stop you from conducting a cooking workshop or recipe demo. All you need is a sink to wash dishes and clean up. So let's go back to the recipe page. to the main recipe page. And another useful filter is dietary info, where you can find various recipes such as vegetarian and vegan. Many of your participants may have restrictions on eating certain types of meat or are vegetarian. Also, safe handling of raw meat in a workshop or demonstration can be tricky. So using meatless recipes is a good way to accommodate different eating patterns and avoid issues of food safety. The wonderful thing about EatFresh.org is that there's an abundance of meatless meals that will open your participants' eyes and palates to delicious vegetable cookery. Of course, you can also search for a recipe that features a particular ingredient you want to highlight. So we can look up something that's now available, cabbage. And you will find, here we have 17 recipes that feature our star ingredients. So now let's talk a little bit more about planning for your audience. So we're going to go back to our presentation. So when planning your workshop, make sure it is not only fun, but also safe and appropriate. Consider the age of your audience, the level of cooking experience they may have, physical limitations, and dietary restrictions or allergies. For example, if you're cooking with young kids, make sure the recipe has tasks they can do with their hands, like peeling, mashing, mixing, and stirring. For older adults, it is important to be mindful of the texture of ingredients you select for your recipe. Crunchy foods such as nuts and seeds may not be appropriate. For all age groups, it's crucial to be aware of the 8 major food allergens, as well as food sensitivities and tolerances. While it isn't necessary to exclude recipes with these ingredients, make sure to ask participants about their food allergies as much in advance as possible. You can plan to keep the ingredients on the side or find a substitute. Great, so let's move on to talking about how to use a recipe in your workshop or demo. Slide. Okay, so first let's look at how to prepare enough food for all your participants. So this recipe for with carrots, let's look at the serving size. If you are not providing a full meal for your participants, you may not need to prepare a full serving of a recipe for each person. So this recipe has 3/4 cup is serving size, which I think one regular serving would be enough for 2 to 3 people to enjoy in a workshop. If you're doing a recipe demonstration at a fair or presentation, one serving might provide samples for 4 or 5 people. Often it will be necessary to make more than one batch of a recipe. And as Ada noted, EatFresh.org makes it easy to cook for a large group by helping you to adjust the number of servings in a recipe. However, even though the tool will allow you to multiply a recipe 100 times, it's not a good idea to try to prepare all those portions at once. Imagine with this recipe, you couldn't fit all that cabbage into a skillet. So you should consider how large your pot or pan is in order to decide how much to do at one time. Overcrowding a pot or pan will affect how the recipe will come out, and it might not be as enjoyable. For your recipe to come out as it should, it is best to prepare it in batches. A good rule of thumb for most recipes is to not go beyond doubling or tripling the recipe for each batch. For a large hands-on workshop, that might mean setting up multiple cooking stations and splitting up the groups so that each subgroup prepares the recipe. For a demo, prepare the tasting samples ahead of time. You can prepare a smaller batch of the recipe during the demo, just like they do on TV. Make sure you get some help to prepare the samples ahead of time if you're going to serve a lot of people. So the key to successful recipe preparation is to read the recipe very thoroughly and all the way through before beginning the actual cooking. It's important to do this when selecting the recipe and again when you're cooking with your group. Having EatFresh.org open on a phone or tablet nearby can help when questions come up. So circled in red, we note how long the recipe takes. So read the recipe carefully to determine how much of that is active versus unattended preparation. This recipe takes 20 minutes, but if you read to the end, down to the bottom on step 3, you'll see that most of it is active cooking, such as chopping, forming burgers, and cooking in the pan. If a recipe needs a length of unattended cooking, such as baking, simmering, or cooling in the fridge, you can plan to do an activity or discussion. Up above in the yellow circle, you'll see that EatFresh.org identifies what kind of equipment you will need and allows you to have it out to make preparation faster and easier. A good tip is to make sure that you have everything out before you start cooking. Another important step with the recipe is to review unfamiliar terms and ingredients before beginning cooking. Your participants may need some clarification or explanation, so allow time for that. Right here in green, we have circled bison. Not many people know what bison is, so you can always click and find out what it is. Also, consider each ingredient. Does it need to be washed, pre-cooked, or handled in a particular way? In the blue box, you see this recipe calls for cooked wild rice, which you may need to cook ahead of time. Make note of special steps so you or your participants don't miss them. So one of the most crucial things you should do with a recipe, especially when cooking in a workshop, is to read and reread the measurements. It's easy to confuse teaspoons and tablespoons, or mistake a half cup for 1.5 cups. During cooking workshops, make sure your participants can recognize different measurements and know the various abbreviations used. For some, using measurements can be a new experience. Okay, now I will share a few final words of wisdom for cooking in a workshop or demonstration successfully. If you are new to a recipe, it doesn't hurt to try it out at home first. This is a great way to make sure you're comfortable with all the steps before doing it with or in front of others. It also helps with making sure you have timed out how long things will actually take. If you're worried about having enough time, you can do a few things before the workshop or demonstration begins. Save a little bit. Open packages and cans, but keep the packaging nearby to show participants in case they have questions. Wash ingredients, though sometimes demonstrating how to wash something like lettuce or rinsing canned beans could also be part of the lesson. Set up prep stations for each person with tools, cutting boards, and ingredients used. You can also measure some of the ingredients. You can also pre-cook some of the ingredients, especially things like pasta and rice. And then you use frozen vegetables, which are a great shortcut for many recipes. They're already pre-chopped and pre-cooked, and you just need to defrost in the fridge or counter before using. Finally, during a hands-on workshop, you can run into a situation of too many cooks in the kitchen. A great strategy for coordinating all the activities and is to have one participant be the designated head chef. That person will be responsible for directing the rest of the group on the order of operations. Their job is to keep a copy of the recipe with them throughout preparation and make sure that it is followed correctly. Often, the most reluctant participants can shine in this role. Okay, so that wraps up our webinar, and we are going to address some of the questions that were asked in our live webinar. So one of the first questions that was asked was if we have recipes in other languages.
So yes, we do have recipes available in all 3 languages, so English, Spanish, and Chinese. Most of them you can access using the language filter on our website, but there are no current plans to have these recipes in other languages. So that is the current status there. So another question that came up is somebody asked, can you show us how to change a recipe that serves 6 people to serve 5 or 50 people using 1/4 cup serving size? So Monica is going to quickly share the screen again and show us how to play around with the numbers.
Yes. So the question there was adjusting the recipe on the serving size to find the right size servings. So my recommendation is to play around a little bit and look at what keeping your measurements easy to read, easy in math. So for example, this recipe, the serving size for this recipe is 1.5 cups. So if you look above, there are 4 servings in this recipe itself. So if we do some math, each serving is 6 quarter cup servings. So 6 quarter cup tasting portions would be 1 serving of this recipe. So 6 times 4, right here, we already know that this recipe as is prepares, offers 24 servings. So if we want to double it, we'll have close to 50, which gives you nice even amounts on measurements. So 16 cups for lettuce. If you were to say add a few more servings, you start to get into some unique measurements like 1.25 cups, which kind of can be tricky if you're prepping. So my best guidance is to try and play around and get your servings, get your ingredients measurements easy to measure. But that's up to you.
Yeah, and I would just stick to whole numbers too. I don't want to measure 1.25 cup of cucumber.
Yeah, that makes it simpler. And it's always okay to make extra. So if you have to make a little extra to have it easy to work with numbers, that's my best recommendation.
Yeah, I'll just total up what you actually need and kind of, yeah, just play around with the numbers. Okay, so hope that was helpful. So another question that came up was, what is the criteria for recipes on our website? So we have nutritional guidelines for all our recipes. So all our recipes on EatFresh.org are SNAP-Ed approved, and they have to comply with specific nutritional guidelines set by the CDC. So I'm taking a look at all the total calories in the recipe, the total fat and carbohydrate or fiber, and so there's very specific criteria for the recipe.
But they all meet the guidelines for healthy recipes, so you can trust that they are appropriate for your audience and any health issues they may be having.
Right.
So that was the final question that we thought was worth addressing again. So thank you for joining us, and keep an eye out for more webinars to come.
Yeah, and also a follow-up email for those of you who did join our webinar on links to the webinar slides and recording, and also our EatFresh.org toolkit. Okay, thank you again for listening in. And please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. We want to be a resource for you as you integrate EatFresh.org into your work. So thank you again for joining us today. Goodbye and have a great day.